Now, back to our top story, the continuing crisis in Afghanistan, where US President Joe Biden says allied troops in the country face mounting danger as they push to complete evacuations by an August 31st deadline. The United States and its allies have evacuated more than 70,000 people, including their citizens, NATO personnel, and Afghans at risk over the last 11 days, during which the Taliban swept into the capital, Kabul. Western countries are now rushing to complete the airlift before the deadline for the withdrawal of foreign troops under an agreement struck with the Taliban last year. But speaking after an emergency G7 summit, the US president left open the chance of the deadline being extended, saying reaching that goal is dependent on continuing cooperation from the country's new Taliban rulers. Now, Arise correspondent Philip CROWTHER is in Islamabad in neighboring Pakistan, where some fleeing Afghans have been taken to before carrying on their journey to other countries. And he joins us now. Philip, good to have you. Now, President Biden has said troops are facing mounting danger.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
A pleasure. Now, President Biden has said that troops are facing mounting danger in Kabul. What's your take on that?
Well, look, the American administration has been pretty clear about this for the last few days already, that one of the main reasons, at least that they are giving, to stick to this departure date of the 31st of August, all evacuation flights and indeed all US personnel has to be out of Afghanistan by that date, the 31st of August. One of the main reasons given was that the administration believes that the risk of a terrorist attack is getting bigger. Now, what kind of an attack could that be? Well, the administration speaks largely of an attack by the Islamic State terrorist organization that is active in Afghanistan, according, again, to the US military. So that is one of the big risks for this evacuation process that's going on right now, because you do have to remember that the only reason why the United States has control over this airport is, first of all, because of its military might, of course. There are thousands of soldiers securing that airport right now. But it is also because of that agreement with the Taliban to let foreigners and some Afghans, though that is now very, very limited, leave through the international airport. It is under control from the United States and other coalition troops outside. The roadblocks, well, those are manned by the Taliban. This is a deal that the United States made with the Taliban, and a deal that will come to an end. And when it comes to an end, that's, of course, when the risk is much, much higher. These are all reasons why this end date of the 31st of August has not been extended. The risk, the fear of a terrorist attack on maybe US troops on the ground, maybe also on people who are waiting to get into the airport, but then also the simple fact that this deal with the Taliban, who are now, of course, controlling Afghanistan, that deal is going to come to an end.
Now, we know Biden has left the door open for this red line shifting for the 31st of August. Now, what's going to happen if the Taliban obstructs that operation? Like, really, how realistic is it that they might not do anything?
Look, I think it's a deal in the end, so both parties will be expected to keep to it. But what this means is that the US presence has to end by the 31st of August. You have to look at the timeline here that we're looking at over the next few days, because this was a self-imposed deadline by the United States to get everybody out by the 31st of August. Everybody meaning not just evacuees, everybody also means all US soldiers, thousands of them. And for that to happen by the 31st of August, well, first of all, you have to get all the evacuees out that you possibly can. A few days before the United States ends up packing up all of its material, all of its soldiers, and everybody gets out on that last date, the 31st of August. So that's the timeline that we're looking at. And that also means that foreign militaries, who of course are still flying in and out of Kabul, trying to get their citizens out, and Afghans who've been working with their militaries or their embassies, and other refugees who just really, really badly feel like they need to leave the country, all of those evacuations will have to be done as quickly as possible before the Americans essentially shut up shop, because nobody wants to be left behind. No military wants to be left behind. There is no country, there is no coalition of countries that will be able to secure this airport in the absence of American troops. It's as simple as that.
Philip, speaking of nobody being left behind, let's set it in context. How much work is there still to do? How many people left to evacuate?
You know, that's pretty much impossible to say. But let me start with the very impressive numbers, it must be said, of how many people have been evacuated out of Afghanistan during these last few days. And it is over 80,000 people. The figures that we're getting from the US administration, they're going up almost by the day. The sheer amount of evacuees that are coming out of Kabul airport, be it on American military flights, be it on coalition country military flights, and that includes all sorts of countries who have contributed to the war in Afghanistan, led, of course, by the United States. There have been planes from Ukraine. There have been planes from Poland, from Japan, from Canada, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, from all sorts of places. And one of the places, by the way, where some of those planes are flying, well, that's here in Islamabad. There's a reason why we are here, because there is an air bridge that has been established between Kabul and Islamabad. And that is an air bridge that's been organized by the Dutch military, by the Belgian military, and by the Luxembourgish military. They are flying in and out from Islamabad to Kabul as often as they possibly can, bringing back as many evacuees as they can, who are then, usually within a 24-hour period, put on flights that take them then to Europe. It is an enormous logistical task that all of these militaries are undertaking right now, but it is one that probably will not be 100% successful in the end. We know there are still a lot of people outside of the airport in Kabul, or indeed in Kabul or the outskirts, waiting for that text message or that email telling them that they can get to the airport and that there is a plane waiting for them. Just in the last few hours, I spoke to a lady who is the head of a non-governmental organization working in Afghanistan. She says that she has a family of 12 who have visas for Australia and are still hoping to get out. The truth is, time is truly running out now to get on one of those planes that will get people out of Kabul.
Philip, thank you so much for that. That was Philip CROWTHER live from Islamabad.